the Pirelli brand in the truck is less well known than the Pirelli brand in passenger car tires. So it made sense to lift the Chinese brand in the truck brand in China. By listing it back in Milan, I think they are for me, they're playing the passenger car market as investors, and they're playing the truck market as participants. And so over time, depending on how the passenger car tire industry in China consolidates, because China has huge overcapacity in passenger car tires. So as if there is going to be some consolidation there and they get a chance to buy cheap assets in China, then they can leverage the Pirelli brand, and there is a huge opportunity with the Pirelli brand to take it global. The Pirelli brand is not yet a global brand in terms of the mass market. And if you look at the Chinese asset as being stronger in the mass market, with Pirelli being stronger in the premium market, they don't have to apply the Pirelli brand to the mass market tires. They can create a new brand, and they've got other brands in their stable that they could easily use to expand into the mass market and do something with that.
Understood. So you are not worried about the Chinese penetrating the premium market, but would you be worried about the rest of the tier one manufacturers being more aggressive on premium as the Chinese penetrate the volume segment?
Yes, and they're already doing that. There is more. The reason that Pirelli got into Formula One was because they had reached what I would call would be the natural limit that they had in terms of growing their brand, and getting back into Formula One, which I think they did around 2011 or 2012, was a way for them to invest in defending their premium brand image and eventually growing their premium brand image.
Because then that becomes a bit more challenging, because I would assume that any IP that Pirelli has for premium tires is probably something that Michelin, Continental, and Goodyear have, no?
Yes. The competition, if you will, in the passenger car tire sector of the tire industry is really happening in three fronts. There's a lot of competition happening at the premium end, just like you mentioned, between the tier one and the marginal tier two players. There's a second competition happening where there are aspiring players who want to get into OEMs. And then there is a third sector that's happening in the mass market with imported or Chinese manufacturers. And in the second one, the example that I can give you is Hankook, which is a Korean manufacturer that during my career started out as tier 3 or tier 4 and is today on the verge of being tier 1. And that is where I see Pirelli as having a disadvantage, because one of the things that OEMs look for when you want to be a supplier to OEM is that you are able to supply all of their vehicles, not just the best ones that you would like to supply. So, for example, if you're familiar with General Motors and their lineup, General Motors has the Corvette, which is a very premium vehicle because it's sporty and so on and so forth. And everyone wants to supply the GM Corvette, but GM also makes a lot of mass market vehicles, and they want you to supply the mass market. So Pirelli will not be able to equip the Corvette because they don't have tires to equip the other General Motors General Motors vehicles.
I understood.
And that is where their Chinese connection can actually help in the future.
Sorry, I'm just typing here.
Sure.
And if we think about someone